What happens when you walk 15,000 steps every day for a whole month? I wanted to find out. But of course, everyone who does this sort of thing is going to have a different experience. So in this video, I want to focus on my experience, the challenges that I had to work around, and what happened as a result. So stick around. Hello everyone, I'm Leslie and I'm a life coach based here in Brisbane, and I am back with another personal challenge video. A few months ago, I made a video sharing my experience walking 12,000 steps every day for the month of January in honor of my 42nd birthday. I had planned on making an update video months ago because I wanted to keep walking and keep sharing my experience, but a few things happened, some family emergency stuff that I really don't want to get into right now. And it made making videos just go way down on my list of priorities. But make sure you do go back and watch that first video because I took a very different approach this time, which is probably what impacted my results. But more on that later. So because it took so long to make any sort of update, I decided to push myself a bit more this time and up my goal to 15,000 steps every day for the month of June, using some of what I learned doing the 12,000 steps challenge to help me decide how I wanted to approach things. But some of the conditions were very different this time. For one thing, when I did that first challenge, it was summer, and this most recent one happened in winter, Australian winter. Not like 9 feet of snow, Pennsylvania winter. I also had a few new challenges ahead of me that could have made me say,
you know what, this is not the right time to do this, it's going to be very inconvenient, just let's forget the whole thing.
But obviously I didn't say that, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. I just had to think of ways to work around these obstacles. So while you're here, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps me to reach more people. And let me know in the comments or send me a message and let me know if there are some other challenges you'd like to see me tackle. And of course, if you have a challenge ahead that you're looking for some strategies with, get in touch with me for a free introductory life coaching consultation. Now back to it. Here are some of the challenges I had to plan for, as well as some of the solutions I put in place. And after that, I'll talk about my results. So, here we go. One of the challenges I faced had to do with a little spending problem I have. In short, I hate buying shoes. I don't like going shopping for shoes. I don't like trying them on. And I especially don't like spending proper human money on shoes. I have a couple of nice pairs of shoes that I wear at the office or for special occasions that I've had for years. But the thought of getting new walking shoes, I was not looking forward to that. But you have to understand also, I will wear my shoes down to threads before I replace them. My walking shoes were old and trashy, big holes in the soles, paint on them, just not in good condition at all. And I did take myself shoe shopping, or I tried to. I took myself to the shops, I walked around, I bumbled around a little bit, which was great for my step count, but in the end, I just stuck with my trashy old shoes. My feet got wet and dirty a lot, but whatever, that's what towels are for. A lot of people, when they're trying to accomplish a goal or when they have a goal in mind, will get themselves stuck on the starting block by thinking that they have to first acquire all of the best equipment, tools to complete this goal before they can launch into it. The one thing this does is create the illusion of taking action, when really you're just accumulating stuff. And you've probably seen it before, or maybe you've done it as well. Like, I'm gonna buy this treadmill because it will force me to get good exercise every day, and I'll have no excuses after that. I made a video about this a few years ago, and one of the recommendations that I made, and something that I often talk about, is that when you have a goal in mind that could benefit from acquiring certain tools at some point down the line, it's worth it just to get started with whatever you have available to you right now. If you can commit to the necessary actions and remain consistent, that can be a good time to consider upgrading. Don't put the cart before the horse. Have a plan, have a vision in mind, have a plan for how you're going to make that vision a reality. Visualize, plan, and execute. Don't just go shopping and hope for the best. Another challenge I had was actually more of a disincentive to walking everywhere, and that came in the form of a new car. A beautiful BYD Atto 3. I love driving this car. It is so quiet, it's fully electric, and pickup day was also the only time you will ever see me holding a sign like this. Some of you will know from my previous walking video that one of my best strategies for racking up a lot of steps was walking from my house to my office, which I still did on occasion, but I was definitely driving to work more frequently than I had planned initially. But luckily, finding free all-day parking in this area, in the Teneriffe Newstead area, is pretty tricky. There are a lot more 2-hour parking options. So what I did was I parked my car several blocks away in a 2-hour parking zone, walked to the office, and walked back that 2 hours later to move my car to another 2-hour zone. And I did that a couple of times. Not every day, just some days. And that may sound like a huge pain in the ass, but one thing that did for me was it helped keep me from being too sedentary. It also helped me break my day into these 2-hour blocks where I could really immerse myself in a task with the assurance that I would have these big periods of movement at different points throughout the day. So it got rid of that feeling of guilt that could be bubbling in the background, going like, oh, I've been sitting too long, I should start walking. Oh, when's a good time to start walking? It eliminated that. On its own, that strategy didn't make up for all of those steps that I missed out on walking to and from home, but it really did help. Speaking of home, another challenge I had to work around was that my family and I were moving to a new house. Yeah. And that meant that most of the time in the month of June, when I wasn't at work, I was at the house sorting through our stuff, deciding what to sell, what to donate, what to get rid of, what to take to the next place, what to put in storage, and of course, packing it all up and cleaning. Thankfully, my partner, bless their hearts, took on the bulk of that responsibility because they had a bunch of time off at the time that I just did not have, but I still had to do my part. So coming home from work and taking long leisurely walks wasn't always an option. So my solution was to build more walking into my workday. My office is in a lovely part of Brisbane called Teneriffe, and it's right by the river. And there is a path along the river that leads to another suburb called New Farm. And these are both very lovely places with a very rich history. And the river walk, I don't really remember how long it took to walk between the two places, but I made a habit of going out to the river walk at about midday most days and walking from Teneriffe to New Farm, looking at all the interesting arty things along the way and just soaking up some of that winter sunshine. I'd also use that time to catch up on phone calls or listening to podcasts and audiobooks related to my work. And on the new farm end of this walk, there is an amazing place called the Brisbane Powerhouse, which is like an entertainment venue, a meeting space, a gallery space. They have a lot of different kinds of events there. There's also a cafe, bar. So I often arranged to have business-related meetings at the cafe. Or if I were there by myself, I would just take some laps around the building, mess around a bit because it's a nice area, and then I'd walk back to Teneriffe. I collected thousands of steps that way. And on days where I was light on my step count, I totally did just waddle around my office, up and down the halls when people weren't there, so I wasn't getting in the way. And that helped fill in those gaps. And it was also just amusing to me. And I love to amuse myself. The next big challenge I had to plan for was related to my side gig. Now, y'all know that my full-time job is running my business as a life coach, but I have an occasional side job working as an extra for film and television. And I love it. I love it so much. So what I'm about to describe might sound like a complaint, but it's not. It's really not. It's just facts. I recently had a recurring role that had me on set fairly frequently. Now, when I'm on set, my movements are very carefully controlled. And anyone else who has ever worked as an extra on a major production can relate to this. Obviously, I can't really talk about the main production I've been working on for the past few months because I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but my general workday on the project looked like this. I would get in my car and drive for about an hour, get to the studio, park exactly where they tell me to, check in with extras casting, go through wardrobe and hair and makeup, breakfast, and then to extras holding, which is where I wait until they need me for a scene. And I love it. Honestly, even just as a business owner, having the occasional day off from making any big decisions, aside from what to get from the catering tent, is like a holiday. There are some shooting days where I can be in extras holding for hours before they put me in a scene, or sometimes they just won't put me in at all. But there are other days where I will be up on my feet, being directed in a scene to walk from this point to that point to that point over and over again for an entire day. And I have no way of knowing ahead of time how much I'll be used for a day because things on set can change like that. I think I can legally reveal that for this production, I couldn't wear my Fitbit because it wasn't part of my costume. But I did have pockets. So what I did was I shut off all of my alarms, all of my notifications, anything that could make a sound or make it buzz. I turned all of that off and I stuck it in my pocket. And that allowed me to still count my steps as I was going through my workday. On days where I'm in extras holding for a long time, normally I would read a book or chat with the other talent. But because I had so many steps to get every day, I spent a lot of time just pacing back and forth in extras holding, which I don't have any B-roll for because there are very strict rules, obviously, for taking pictures and video on these sets. You just don't do it. So I explained what I was doing to the other people in the holding area so it wouldn't be too unsettling for me to just be wandering around all day sometimes. And because as a group, a lot of us were on set multiple times, they helped keep me accountable by asking what my step count was throughout the day and how I was progressing over a number of days, which is something I didn't really have when I did the 12,000 steps challenge. So it was really handy. With the actor strike happening now, that production, like everything else, has been put on pause. So I'm not going to be making that long drive as often for the foreseeable future. I tell you what, I really hope that we can get back into it at some point relatively soon, but I fully support the actor strike and the writer strike. So all of you in the Screen Actors Guild, so all of you striking in support, keep doing what you're doing. So those were some of the challenges that I had to work around in order to make sure I could walk 15,000 steps, at least 15,000 steps every single day in June. And I'm very glad to say that I managed to do it every day. But there were some things I did very differently. As you may remember from the other video, I was tracking a lot of things on my spreadsheet, the step count, the estimated calorie burn just according to the Fitbit, because I know these things aren't 100% accurate. It's just a number to work from and measure some of the differences day to day. That's how I use it. I was also measuring things like the day of my menstrual cycle. And for this challenge, I thought, well, if one of my aims here is just to see how I can incorporate walking, all of this walking into my routine while I've got all these other obstacles to work around, how about I don't track every little thing this time? And that's how I went. I would check on my results day to day. This thing would buzz when I hit 15,000 steps. And I had opened my spreadsheet maybe day 1 and day 2, and I just put it away after that. And one big difference that made, I think, was that I wasn't so hyper-focused on every little thing that I was doing around taking steps that would lead to greater health outcomes. I wasn't really paying that much attention to the kinds of food I was eating, partly because I was on set so much and you just eat whatever they give you because it's hard to know when the next feed is going to happen. I just went about my day with this one little tool to remind me to keep going. So, the results, I think, reflected that. I wasn't specifically trying to lose weight. I wasn't specifically trying to do much of anything except see what would happen by doing what I did. And I get that the weight loss aspect is one of the things that most people are interested in, right? But again, I'm not here to body shame or fitness shame or diet shame anyone. So now that that's out of the way, you might assume that because I increased my step count to 15,000 this time, that whatever results I had would be magnified in some way. But this is what happened, right? I lost about 1.5 kilos, which is about 2 pounds, something like that, which is much less than what I lost in that previous challenge. But I wasn't really that surprised either, because I noticed other changes as well. My legs, like my quads, were rocking. They just felt so much more solid. I would get into bed some nights and just like rub my thighs because they felt so strong. And I was like, yeah, I did something today. I really worked out my body and I can really feel it. I also noticed that my pants felt a lot looser, especially around my hip and butt region, which I really like my hip and butt region. So like, I kind of wanted that stuff to just stay put, but hell, I was feeling stronger. I was feeling good. I don't want to have to buy new clothes. Like, I don't know, maybe it's my neurodivergence that just makes me really not like clothes shopping, which I think is another reason I gravitate towards purple when I go shopping, because it limits my options. Shopping as a neurodivergent person is a whole other video. Anyway, doing all of that walking also, again, gave me more opportunities to just feel like part of my city, to take in my surroundings in a more mindful way. I met this amazing pianist when I was going on a date down at South Bank. I saw more amazing street art, and I just felt so much more connected to my surroundings. I had better energy levels too. My body got used to moving so much, I felt like that was its natural state. So I'm going to keep up with walking as much as I can throughout the day. I'm not going to set specific targets at this stage. I am going to keep up with walking as much as I can throughout the day. I'm going to throw myself some different challenges as well. I haven't decided exactly what, but if you've got some recommendations, please comment down below, because I love challenging myself. I love the problem solving that's involved. I love the things that I learned from it, and I encourage you to do the same. Challenge yourself to do something in a way that you can feel that sense of joy and accomplishment throughout, and in a way that will help you learn something as well. And if you want a good solid sidekick through that, you know where to find me. I'll see you in the next video.